You never believed in destiny, but it seems like it never tires of proving you wrong. I keep showing up even when you try to escape from it. It's not chance, it can't be. Every time our paths cross, something inside you changes, doesn't it? You feel it, even if you won't admit it. Maybe it's time to stop fighting against it and face what's right in front of you. It could be more than coincidence. It could be the chance you haven't realized you needed yet. I know you might try to justify all of this as coincidence. We bump into each other because the world is small, because paths cross without reason, because after all, there's nothing beyond chance pushing us from one encounter to another. You prefer to believe that, don't you? That everything is just random, without weight, without meaning. But honestly, how long are you going to hold on to that idea? Look at the facts. No matter how much time passes, I'm always there, on the edge of your vision, in the corner of your days, appearing when you least expect it and apparently at the right moment. Don't you see the pattern? Every time you try to turn the page, something happens to put me back in the same book. You can call it coincidence, but don't you find it curious how this never happens with anyone else? The truth is, no matter how much you want to deny it, something bigger connects us. I can't explain what it is, but I know I'm not the only one who feels it. I could be wrong, sure, but your reactions, your looks, your silence say otherwise. You feel it too, you notice it. It's just that for some reason, you're afraid to accept it. And you know what? I understand that fear. Accepting that something is beyond our control is not easy. We like to believe that we have power over everything, that we decide the weather, the encounters, the paths. But here we are. I show up, you hesitate. You flee, I stay, the same dance, the same cycle, time and time again. Aren't you tired of this? Aren't you tired of fighting against what seems inevitable? I'm not here to convince you of anything, but I need to be honest. These reunions, these turns of the world have made me think too. It's not just you who questions things. Why, after all, does this happen? Why can't I get out of your way and you out of mine? Maybe it's just my persistence, maybe it's stubbornness, or maybe it's something neither of us knows yet. But tell me, what's worse? Ignoring all this and continuing to pretend that there's nothing special here, or at least trying to understand what's happening. I'm not talking about promises or plans. I'm talking about now, about what's in front of our eyes. You and I again at this same point where everything seems to repeat itself. If there's any chance that this is more than coincidence, do you really want to let it pass? Do you really want to live without knowing what this could mean? Maybe it's just me, but I'd rather take the risk than spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if we had been braver. And if you feel something similar, even if just a little, then why not take that step? I'm not asking you to change who you are or what you believe. I'm not asking you to dive headfirst into something you don't understand. I'm just asking you to consider, to stop running, to look at this with the same courage you've always shown in so many other things. It's not about destiny, about luck, or any magical force. It's about us, about what happens when we are in the same place at the same time. Think about it, not as a proposal but as an invitation to set aside fear, doubt, and simply explore what's happening here. You don't need to respond to me now. In fact, I don't even know if you will answer. But I hope that, at least for a moment, you allow yourself to believe that some things can have more meaning than we can see at first glance. And if I am wrong, if all this is just the result of my imagination, then tell me. Be honest as you always have been. But if I am right, if you also feel that there is something beyond chance, maybe it's time for us to do something about it. Not out of obligation, not out of pressure, but because maybe, just maybe, this is exactly what we've been looking for, even without knowing it. I am here waiting for your response, waiting for you to decide. Not because I need you to choose me, but because I believe that you also deserve to know what this means. So what will it be? I know these words may sound invasive or intense, but I need you to understand. I'm not trying to pressure you. I just can't pretend that these coincidences don't affect me anymore. They weigh on me. Every time our paths cross, I feel the universe is trying to tell me something I can no longer ignore. And, from what I see, neither can you. Have you ever tried to ask yourself why this keeps happening? Why do you feel that flutter in your stomach when you see me, even when you try to hide it? It's not just about me, nor about you. It's about something that seems to exist in the middle of all this, Something we can't name, but that in some way is there, present, pulsing. And I wonder, how long will you deny this to yourself? I keep thinking about the times I could have walked away, left everything behind, forgotten about you. There were many, believe me. But every time I tried, something inside me said it wasn't the right moment. I don't know if it's stubbornness or hope. Maybe it's a bit of both. But now I see it's not just my issue. Because you haven't really left either. Even when you try to distance yourself, something makes you look back. Isn't it like that? You know, I'm not the kind of person who believes in signs or things like that. I've always been rational, straightforward, even too skeptical at times. But with you, the rules don't work. With you, everything is different. I feel things I can't explain, and that scares me as much as it fascinates me. It's as if somehow you were the fixed point in a world that seems to spin out of control. Does that make sense to you? What frustrates me, however, is this barrier you've built. It's like you've decided that letting things happen is too dangerous, too uncertain. I understand. Uncertainty is scary. But you know what? Sometimes it's exactly in that nebulous territory that the most incredible things happen. And honestly, you are one of those things. I'm not saying I have all the answers. In fact, I'm full of questions. And the biggest one is, why does this keep happening? Why can't we move on like we're complete strangers? Maybe because we're not. Maybe because something insists on reminding us that we can't ignore this. And I wonder, how many more times does this need to happen before you realize what's in front of you? Before we realize it. I'm here being completely vulnerable because I believe it's worth it. You're worth it. I don't have a plan, I don't know what's next. But I know I don't want to keep living wondering what could have been. So I ask you, why don't we try? Not as a commitment, not as a promise, but as a choice to see where this takes us without fear, without reservations. Because the worst that can happen is we find out we were wrong, and even then at least we will have tried. Life is already full of so many uncertainties. Why add one more to the list? Why keep pretending that this means nothing when it clearly means everything? I'm not asking you to change who you are, to abandon your beliefs or your fears. I'm just asking you to consider, to look at me and see that I'm not here by chance. Neither are you. I know you have doubts. I know you're trying to protect something, maybe yourself, maybe what you believe to be true. But you also know that living without risking is living halfway. And I, at least, don't want to live like that. Do you? It seems we are stuck in a cycle that pushes and pulls us, puts us in the same place repeatedly. Is this really just a coincidence, or is there something greater behind this? I don't know the answer, but I want to find out, with you. Not alone, not anymore. So, here is my truth. I am willing to take a risk, to be rejected, ignored, to hear that all this is just in my head. But I can't pretend that this doesn't matter anymore, because it does. You matter. And I need to know if deep down you feel the same. If you don't feel the same, tell me. If all of this is just my illusion, I accept it. I'll move on. But if there is a part of you that believes that maybe, just maybe, this is something worth exploring, then let me know. Not because I want to pressure you, but because I believe you also deserve the chance to understand what is happening here. I don't expect you to respond to me now. I don't even expect you to know what to say. I just want you to think, to feel, to allow yourself to look at this without fear. Because in the end, it's all we can do: risk, feel, live. And for me, living means not letting this pass without fighting for an answer. I am here. I always have been. And the choice now is yours. I know that, for you, all of this may seem too big, too intense, and maybe even unnecessary. But I needed to be honest, because there comes a time when keeping all this inside me becomes heavier than simply saying it. And if I'm going to carry anything from here on out, I want it to be the truth, not the doubt. You know what is the hardest part of all this? It's not the fear of losing you, because, to be very honest, I don't think I ever truly had you. What scares me is the idea of never knowing what this could have been, of never having even given it a chance to find out. It's as if we are standing before a door that never opens, even knowing that something amazing could be on the other side. And I understand. Maybe you have your reasons for hesitating. Maybe you think all of this is a risk not worth taking. But honestly, what in life is truly worth it and is not a risk? And more importantly, when was the last time you allowed yourself to take a risk for something that really matters? I am here saying all this because I can no longer ignore it. Every time you appear, even by chance, I feel as if time stops for a second. And, in those seconds, everything makes sense. Even if you don't say anything, even if you just pass by me, there's something there. And I know you feel it too, even if you try to hide it. You don't need to admit it to me now, but at least admit it to yourself. I keep wondering, what are you waiting for? What are we waiting for? How much longer are we going to be stuck in this back and forth, in this silent game where no one has the courage to make the next move? Because for me, it's already past the time to be resolved. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that life waits for no one. So if I'm opening up like this, it's because I want an answer. It doesn't need to be an immediate decision. It doesn't need to be a definite yes or no. I just want to know if you are willing to explore this with me. To understand why the universe insists on putting us on the same path, time and time again. Because if not now, when will it be? When are we finally going to stop pretending that this isn't happening? And before you think that I'm being impulsive or dramatic, know that I've spent nights thinking about this. I've tried to forget, to move on, to convince myself that it's nothing. But each attempt just brings me back to the same point. You. And I realize that maybe you are exactly that. A fixed point, a place where I always return even without knowing why. I'm not asking you to choose me. I'm not asking you to leave everything behind or change who you are. I'm just asking you to look at this honestly, to truly ask yourself what you feel when you see me, because I already know my answer, and now I need to know yours. If you decide that this isn't for you, I accept it. I respect it. But at least we will have tried. At least we will have given a chance to whatever it is that connects us. And if it means going separate ways, at least it won't be with the weight of doubt. It won't be with the regret of not having had enough courage to try. And if you decide that you want to try, that you want to understand, that you want to know what all of this means, then I will be here. I'm not going anywhere. I have been here the whole time, waiting for a sign, for a word from you, for anything that tells me that you want this too, that you feel it too. But whatever your decision is, I need it to be yours. Don't make this decision for me. Don't do it to please me or to relieve any kind of guilt. Do it because it's what you want, because it's what you feel, because deep down, you know there's something here worth exploring. And if none of this makes sense to you, if you read all of this and think I'm crazy, that's okay. I accept it. But at least I tried. At least I said what needed to be said. And that to me means a lot. So now it's all up to you. Your choice, your decision. I'm here and I will be here for a while longer. But I need you to understand. Even patience has its limits. Not because I want to rush you, but because life goes on. And I need to move on too, with or without you. And I hope from the bottom of my heart that it's with you. Now just tell me, what do you want? I know all of this can be a lot to digest, but it needed to be said. Now it's up to you to decide. Will you keep ignoring what's right in front of you, or will you give it a chance to understand what's really happening here? I am here, ready to discover it with you. But the choice is yours. Don't let fear or doubt stop you from living something that could be amazing. If these words moved you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share your opinion. Leave a comment below and tell me, do you believe that the encounters in life are just coincidences, or is there something greater behind it? And if you think these reflections are worthwhile, subscribe to the channel for more conversations like this. Oh, and don't forget to leave a like. It's a small gesture that helps a lot. Let's continue this dialogue together. I'm waiting for you.